Hi everyone, and welcome to the CV workshop from Talent Smart. My name is Philip Fantham, and I'm here to help you ideally think about your CV in slightly a different way and potentially write a new one perhaps, or maybe brush up on the one you've already got. I'm going to run through some things today which will hopefully help you. I am available for questions. Talent Smart, just want to tell you a little bit about us. I've been around the industry for about 25 years and wanted to start Talent Smart with the whole aim of just offering something more. I want to be able to offer people help and advice and guidance throughout their entire career. Not everything has to be fee based, and I don't believe that. And I think it's really important that we're here to help you in times of need, particularly things like COVID-19. You're in lockdown, maybe your job is at risk. We want to be those people who you can call and just have a chat with, see if we can help you with your CV, see if we can help you get prepared for an interview. Maybe think about your career slightly differently, or indeed if you're thinking about a career change. So give us a call, any advice you need. We're here to help you. Um, Over the last number of years, I've run workshops, and during that time, we've asked, what is a CV? We've come up with a variety of answers that people have offered us: your working life history, biography about you, a forum for opinion, which is different, skills list, I guess maybe, an employment record, it certainly is that as well, a design portfolio, I guess if you're more a web to site designer or something is a bit more art orientated. I'd like to think about a CV in simple form. A CV is your sales brochure. People get quite precious about their CV often. I would invite you to consider that your CV has one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to get you to an interview. Now, I know for many of you out there, when you hear the word sales, you're going to have a bit of an uncomfortable feeling. I will circle back on that. I'd like going to get you to think about sales probably slightly differently as well, in the Dan Pink style that we're kind of all in sales in many, many ways all the time. What I'm going to cover today, the basics, so building blocks your CV, the structure. I've got a structure which is a 7-point structure. It works, and I've proven it to work, and it'll get you more interviews than most. And then tips and tricks or hints and tips just to help you maybe tag on your social media and help put together that with your CV. So some of the basics. Formatting. Formatting is simply the most important thing on your CV. Formatting over style wins every single time for me. I see some lovely CVs, maybe done in newspaper format or with graphs on page one or anything where there's quite design orientated. I'd urge you, please, if you take nothing else away from this workshop, just take away the fact that simple format that's easy for the reader is so important. I encourage you to consider taking an empathetic approach to CV formatting. Think about a reader who this CV is going to land on the desk. They may be overworked, overtired. They want information fed to them easily. You want somebody who can read a CV and get exactly who you are and what you're about and what value you're offering really, really simply. Clarity is really important. Like I say, make it easier for the reader. In the end of the day, the majority of people who read CVs, their first time reading it, it's a quick scan. There's many styles of scan reading, but if you follow the eye and track the eye, they've done a heat map in organizations, and it's an E and F style, going from left to right, dipping in and out, and having a quick look to see if they're going to make a decision to explore further on your CV. At the end of the day, most lab managers will disregard a CV because of poor format, because it's too hard to read. And hiring managers tend to be time poor. For some of you out there listening to this, you may be a hiring manager and you may be already time poor. You know what it's like when you want to hire. The reason you want to hire is because you've probably got a problem or you're short staffed, which means you're probably overworked. You don't have time to sift through a CV trying to extract the information. You just want it easily fed to you. Tailoring. I often get asked over the years, is it right or is it appropriate or is it a good idea to tailor a CV? 100% the answer is yes. However, there are some rules of engagement around that. Tailoring a CV, make it appropriate for the application. If you've got 10 years or more working history, the chances are you can't fit it all on 2 pages. Golden rule, no fabrication, only put in there what's appropriate and be specific about what the role you're applying for and the skills that you've got. Ask yourself a simple question, again going back to that empathy or EQ. What problem is the hirer looking to solve, and are you the solution? Can you articulate your skills and experience as a solution in appropriate fashion in a CV to make it easy for the reader to understand that you are the solution that they're looking for? Some of the structure. So this is my 7-point structure. Again, this is my opinion. It's what worked over the years, but feel free, obviously challenge, question me on it, reach out to me and let me know if it's working for you or not. personal information, your opening statement, your key skills and achievements, recommendations and references on page 1. So 1 to 4 is page 1. Career history, qualifications and interests. I'm going to cover all of these in a bit more detail as we go through. Personal information. It's amazing how many times we get CVs with errors on page 1. I know many hiring managers, and you might be one out there listening to this, whereas if there's an error immediately on page 1, you're not going to hire the person. Name and address. You don't have to put your full address, but I urge you to put what area you live in, and then perhaps in brackets how far you're willing to travel. So if you're in East London and you only want to work in East London, if you live in Leeds and you only want to work in Leeds, that's fine. However, if you live in Manchester and you're willing to travel anywhere in the country, then put that in your CV. Phone numbers. I always say landline and mobile. People tend to try mobile first, but just in case you're in a poor reception area where you live, certainly where I live, it's very hard sometimes to get a mobile signal, and I always put landline on some of my contact details as well. An email. Please use a professional email address. I get many CVs over the years, as you can imagine, and sometimes the email address is what I might term as unprofessional. It could be humorous in other occasions with your friends, but not appropriate for a business environment. So please use a professional email address. Keep it simple. Your first name, your surname, and an @ wherever. If you own a URL, even better. For those of you who are contractors, I would urge you to buy your own URL, own your own domain. Have your LinkedIn URL on there? I think it's really important because recruiters and hiring managers, they'll tend to look at your LinkedIn fairly quickly after receiving your CV if they're interested. Make sure the details match. Make sure all the details are correct, especially your email. If your email has, and you're writing your CV and it's got an autocorrect, similar to this sentence here where it has a full stop at the end, that's automatically been put in. When the CV is parsed through one of the many recruitment solutions out there like Taleo or SAP HR Factors or Job Adder or any of these things, when the CV is parsed, as in automatically loaded, it will pull in all of the data, which means the full stop may be at the end, which means your email is now incorrect on the system and you're not going to get contacted about appropriate roles or, even worse, potentially an interview. Your opening statement. A friend of mine once wrote a book and he said start with an earthquake in your opening statement. It means start really strong. Encourage the reader to read on. Encourage the reader to explore further. Tell them a bit about you, but keep it brief. 2 to 3 lines only. Written in the first person because that gives it a personality. Make sure you stick to facts, not opinion. It's not a place to put your beliefs. It's a place to put your facts about who you are, what you do. Keep it positive. Keep it success orientated. At the end of the day, this is your elevator pitch. This is your chance to present yourself and immediately encourage the reader to explore further. And they want to get to know you a bit better. So this is that moment. 2 to 3 lines only. That way it'll be read. I hate to tell you folks, but if you've got something on there that's a paragraph long, the majority of people receiving your CV won't read it. Keep it short, keep it brief, keep it punchy, keep it positive. Skills and achievements. So making sure you put your key skills. So the CV is starting to build now. So you've got your personal details, your opening statement, then your key skills. What is it you bring? What tools have you got? What skills have you got? Then below that, your achievements. Now, I have been encouraging some people for some years now to keep a success diary. When you're in work, capturing those successes as they happen, capturing those successes at the moment when the elation is happening. Because a funny thing happens once you've left a job. Your memory starts to fade and it's very hard to recapture the emotion and the timing of that success, particularly if you find yourself in these unfortunate times out of work. Your self-esteem can take a bit of a battering. It's very hard then to recapture that moment. So I urge you, while you're going through the successes, capture it almost in a scrapbook fashion, but in any format that you can, capture those and make sure that they're the artifacts that build a great CV. They're the ones that build a great CV. They're also a case study catalogue to help prepare for interview. If you've kept a success diary over the years, and some of you who've been working with me for some years, maybe you do, it gives you that momentum when you're back in the market searching again. And it also gives you that self-confidence to remember that you're actually very good at what you do and you've done amazing things, and you can recapture that. And at interview, I can tell you that most hiring managers, they want to hear about the scars and the wounds and the tough times that you went through. They want to hear about your journey. I'll cover some more of that in the podcast or the casts ahead where we're going to look at interviewing. But it's really important to remember when you're cataloguing your successes, the who, what, how, and the outcome. Who was involved? What was the situation? What problem was need fixing? How was it achieved? And ultimately, what was the outcome? This can be a bit of a contentious one. Recommendations and references. I will urge you and challenge you if you want to put recommendations on page 1 of your CV. You don't have to put people's contact details on there. I know that would be breaching GDPR, etc. But you can ask people for recommendations on LinkedIn and qualify by saying, I will put a line of this, 1 or 2 lines of this on my CV. Are you comfortable with that? Please let me know. If you've got your success diary, if you've got your successes and key achievements on page 1, there's nothing better than a validation from some people who were involved, ideally people who you reported to or maybe a peer group. If you keep up with references again whilst you're in a role, if you're a contractor, do it while you're in the contract. Ask somebody for references as successes happen. Try and capture that before you leave. It's very easy to ask for it while you're there. It's a bit more difficult to approach somebody you once worked with 2 years ago, ask for a recommendation. Easiest place to capture them is LinkedIn, social media recommendations. Relate each reference and each recommendation on page 1 to a success. So again, the CV is starting to build now. You've got your personal details, you've got your opening statement, you've got your key skills, then your key achievements, 3 to 5, no less than 3 and no more than 5, and then you've got 2 to 3 recommendations that validate the achievements that you're stating on page 1. For most readers, that will encourage them to read on then into the career history. When you're writing career history, most of you will know this, I'm sure, anyway, but reverse chronological order. Try and remember the triangle of value. You could sit in all 3 of these areas, or you might only sit in one. The fact is, are you responsible for revenue generation, so making money? Are you responsible for driving efficiencies, saving money, cost savings? Are you involved in keep me out of jail? I challenge it or call it, because it's that whole area of compliance, that whole area of cyber perhaps, making sure they stay out of the headlines. It's that triangle of value. You could be involved in all 3, but position yourself when you're writing your career history in reverse chronological order. Then I've got my 4 P's in there. For those of you who've worked with me a while, you have heard me talk about this before. It's the 4 P's building blocks of any career story or any career history. So people, who was involved, the processes, what processes were deployed, what processes did you bring, what processes did you implement, what processes did you improve. The performance, what was the performance like prior to you, after you, whilst you were there? How did the performance improve? And profits or budgets. So what was it? Was it revenue generation? Was it revenue? So was it product development perhaps that contributed to revenue? Or budget? If it was a particular project, what was the budget involved? And how much of it were you directly responsible for? That can be very important for those of you who are going for project managers, program leads, PMOs, because it gives a perspective on the level of budgets that you're used to working with. And I know for some hirers that's quite important. Some hints, some tips, some tricks. Social media. I encourage you and invite you to consider using social media effectively. LinkedIn needs to match your CV. When I say match your CV, I don't mean word for word, far from it. But what I do mean is your dates, timings, and your clients or your employers must match. If they do not match your CV, you'll immediately be called into question, and probably you'll be deselected at that point, or somebody will be selected ahead of you in terms of getting an interview. Make sure it matches. That's what we recruiters do. That's what hiring managers do. That's what internal recruiters will do. They will immediately go and look for anomalies. If there is any anomalies in there, you may well find yourself deselected from the process, and you may never know why. Join groups relating to your experience. Join groups relating to your particular area of interest and expertise. Contribute to forums. Now, I want to clarify that, because the next line is, remember, post only positive. I learned a painful lesson 10 years ago when I encouraged somebody to contribute to forums. I was misunderstood and I wasn't clear in my advice and guidance. The person went off and joined loads of forums and used it as a soapbox to tell everyone how terrible this piece of software was or how terrible this particular company is. Please don't do that. Post only positive. Contribute to discussions in a way that you're utilizing and demonstrating your experience and how your experience can potentially help somebody in a situation. Or pose questions. Say, if you find yourself in this particular situation with this particular problem, anyone out there got any ideas about what the best approach would be? Reach out to your network, let them know you're looking. There's no better way when you've decided to redo your CV is that at that point, do a couple of versions of your CV and send it to a select group within your network and ask them which one is better. It's a nice subtle way of letting people know that you're looking for work without actually going and saying, have you got any jobs for me? And that way, it just encourages conversations and keep people fresh in your mind. As well as that, you may get some good advice in terms of CV and how it's looking. Please lock down your Facebook and your Instagram, etc. Recruiters, we do go searching for your social media presence to see what you're all about. I'd urge you to, if you're not happy with your next employer, your next client, seeing it, make sure it's hidden, make sure it's secure. Don't have an open profile. I still see people today with open profiles, and sometimes some of the imagery, some of the opinion that's expressed on there perhaps is not for everyone to be reading. So just consider that when you've got your social media. I want to circle back where I started. We're all in sales. I'd invite you to think about, what do you think about when you hear the word sales? You probably have an image of something that's quite unpleasant, pushy, but I'd argue, and again, I'm stealing some stuff here from Dan Pink, so I'll give him full credit, and his book Persuasion, really, really good read if you get the chance. He's also done some brilliant talks online. But I'd argue that we're all selling every day. Whether you're trying to sell to your kids to do their homework, whether you're trying to sell, to your partner that you want to go on holiday to a particular destination or buy that next new car, whether you're trying to sell to your boss that you want budget to do a particular experimental project, that's still sales. Forget the old image of sleazy sales and just think about sales is simple. It's persuasion and sales is exchange. It's about persuading somebody your opinion, persuading somebody that this is a good idea. In exchange, and you get the budget that you want, or you get in exchange, and you meet somewhere in the middle. Always think about, what do you have that employers want to buy in that whole sales mentality? Does your CV clearly articulate your value? And the reason I just want to circle back on recommendations, because I know it is a contentious one. Some people are uncomfortable with putting recommendations on there. Consider the last time you booked a holiday. Consider the last time you made a major purchase online, whether it's an expensive camera or expensive TV. At that point, you would have looked at, well, certainly the majority of people I know, they look at the reviews to see, what did people think about this purchase before me? Is there mistakes I can learn from? Is this a good purchase? Not a good purchase. The recommendations are similar to your 5-star on TripAdvisor. They will help you. If you've got any questions around this, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or send a note to inquiries@talent-smart.co.uk. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. If there's any way that we can be of assistance, I'm very happy to do so. Please just reach out to us and let us know. I know it's a tough time at the moment with COVID-19, but we're here to help you. And even if it's you just need to vent and you just want to have a word, you want to find out what the market's like, you want to understand what salaries are being paid at the moment or day rates as a contractor, give us a call, reach out, find us, and we'll be happy to help. With that, I wish you all the very best, and I hope we meet and speak soon.